Hey guys, this is John with CheatSheetPros.com, and today we're going to look at college football best bets for Week 5, games to be played on, I believe, October 2nd. Today is September 29th. I'm on my lunch break, so I thought I'd make a little video for everybody. I posted the article on the website last night. I stayed up and did it, so we're going to kind of run over these games. And for anyone watching the YouTube video, I'm going to give you a couple extra bets that didn't make the article because I was extremely tired last night. So you can see, here I'll go ahead and show it to you. So my best bets for the weekend are these four. We have Army over Ball State, Rutgers over Ohio State, BC over Clemson, and Iowa State over Kansas. And then these are kind of the second tier bets that I talk about in the article, and I'll show you a couple of them. But you can see that article at CheatSheetPros.com if you want to go over there and check it out, or you can watch this video. Either one is fine by me. So one of the games I'm going to talk about is Boston College versus Clemson. Now, one thing when you're looking at the cheat sheet, we're not going to go into the player projections down here. These are for people that are doing player props. I guess if you're doing college football fantasy, you could use them. Or if you're on Prize Picks, which is the new hot toy right now. And you can see the player, we have their projection up here and then their season averages directly below it in this white italic. So you can see what they're projected versus what they're averaging per game just to kind of get an idea. But again, we're not going to talk about that in this video. We are going to look at the college football betting sheet and some games that popped out at me. Typically what I do is as soon as the lines are released, I update the college football sheet and I run every game through it and I take notes. And then the games I take notes on, I go and research those games. And I basically start with 20 games, I go down to 15, I get down to about 10, down to about 7. This weekend, I got a little bit more. I was feeling a little froggy because I didn't get to bet a lot last week. The two things we're going to look at is our algo line up here. So this is basically the algo line is going to give us what the Vegas line should be, in our opinion, no matter the teams. PFF, they're very modest. I've converted their scores into kind of a line that's easier to read than their index ratings and all the decimals and stuff that they put in there. And then we over here, we have what was really successful the last couple weeks is the cheat line. So this only works if the teams are in the same tier. So if it's a somewhat competitive game, then the cheat line is something I'm going to look at that's going to indicate to me how the game's going to play out, which side I like, and if there's a miscue in the Vegas line that I think I could look into more and take advantage of. If it is let's say a team that's 40 gaps apart in the rankings, or the spread's over 20, don't even look at the cheat line because it's, for example, if Georgia plays UMass probably isn't going to score, but any model is going to give them some yards, and instead of skewing it, I just say, hey, this is what we used in NFL, had a lot of success with. I'm bringing it over to college football, but take it with a grain of salt, especially if there's a wide gap here. So Boston College and Clemson, I put them in the same tier. I'm not worried about these numbers up here right now. So we have an algo line that has Clemson about 19 points better. Line opened up at Clemson minus 16. And I was kind of shocked. When you come down here and you look at the plus minus and points per game, Boston College is 4-0. They're plus 16, so that means they're averaging 38 points per game while allowing only 21.7, so they're positive. And then Clemson is negative 2. They're averaging 12.7 points per game and allowing 15. Down here in your yard per point, this is basically how many points scored per yard. The league average is 15.5, so when I say YPP, I'll refer to this a lot. So you can see Clemson here at 17.9. They're worse than league average, so they are not very efficient on offense. And then Boston College at 10 is phenomenal. They are extremely efficient with their yardages. Over here, we've got our projected yardages. This is just kind of an average between the two. And then this is our custom projected one where it skews more towards the better team. So if the defense is better than the offense, it's going to skew down to the D. If the offense is much better than the defense, we're going to give a few extra yards to the offensive side. So I look at these side by side to kind of see the range that this game could come with a possible outcome. Then we have our three models here. We have our cheat line for the close games. This is kind of my default go-to. And then if it's a far spread game, I'm going to look at the algo line. I'm going to look at the yardage model and see kind of what it's spitting out. And then also the algo line up here. I just put it out in a scoring format so you can see based on a projected total who's going to have how many points. It helps for fantasy, sports betting, props, team totals, all that good stuff. So that's a tour of the sheet. So let's go ahead and take a look at this game. Now, Boston College plus 16 is where I'm going. Now, I mean, the last two games, I think Clemson's averaging 17 points per game or 17 and a half points per game, and you're giving me 16 with Boston College. So, I mean, if we score a field goal, we could possibly cover that with their average points per game. I like that. I mean, it sounds good anyway. Over here on the cheat line, we've got a huge skew. So we've even got Boston College winning this game in a very low-scoring game of 20-10. So we have Boston College minus 10. Now, I don't think the line should be minus 10. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if there's a possibility that Boston College could win this game and you're giving us 16 points, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take that. Over here, you can see that Clemson is 113th in offensive rush yards per game, 117th in pass yards per game. Both teams are giving up about the same on the defensive side of the ball, but the big difference is right. Did I just delete that? Okay. The big difference is right here where Boston College is putting up 380 offensive yards a game and only 226 for Clemson. And I'm getting 16 points. I will take that all day. So Boston College plus 16. Hopefully it's still 16 when you're watching this. Let's go on to game number 2. We got Rutgers at Ohio State. And I forgot who the home team was. I think it was at Rutgers. So home team always goes on bottom. That factors in the, oh, it's not state. That factors in the home field advantage. All right, so in this game, if you flip over here to the cheat line, now you see a big difference in the rankings, but they're kind of in the same ballpark. Now, Rutgers played Michigan last week, and Michigan is within 2 power rankings of Ohio State. So I consider Michigan and Ohio State kind of about the same tier. Ohio State's slightly better. Rutgers lost last week to Michigan 20-13, but it was a tight game. And they also outgained them in first downs. I think it was like 25-16 or somewhere around there. It was in the article on the website. And then they outgained them in rush yards, like 190-something to 112. So Rutgers, even though their offense isn't very good, they were moving the ball, and Ohio State's giving up 410 total yards per game that we can see over here. So if Rutgers can score almost anything, I think they can hang in this game. Both teams are positive on the plus minus, both in about the same range. That Rutgers defense, though, I mean, rushing and passing is solid. 20th and 18th in yards per game, allowing only 264 yards per game. That's phenomenal. So we have this game. We think Ohio State's going to win on the cheat line, 28-21. We think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I didn't see what the total was. I'm assuming it's somewhere between 48 and 54. So we got 28-21. Ohio State should be favored by 7, but we're getting 15.5. So I'm going to take the 15.5 here because that's a big enough difference, and there's enough supporting stats around it to make me lean that way. So Rutgers plus 15.5 is game number 2. And I'm going to go ahead and hit this Iowa State. Actually, Kansas is on the road. This Kansas-Iowa State game. Iowa State's laying 34. Now, if you look at the cheat model, we've got them winning by only 26. But these are 2 drastically different teams, which you can see here in the rankings. We have 20th versus 122nd. So that's a huge difference. So cheat line, we're going to throw it out the window. You can look at it, but just don't pay attention to it. We're going to default to our algo line for any game, and we've got Iowa State by 37. Well, a lot of people are going to say, Hayes, you've got Iowa State minus 34, but you're saying it should be 37. That's not enough points for a play. Yes, you are correct. This is one I talked myself into. It's not a play that the sheet is pointing at, but I love big lopsided games. They are a lot of fun. Over here, we've got the offense-defense in the hundreds, and then offense-defense 19th and 14th. Huge lopsided game. So Kansas and their 103rd ranked offense is going to go face the 14th ranked defense. Vice versa, Iowa State number 19 offense is going to go face the 123rd ranked defense. Look at these defensive yards per game allowed. Iowa State's allowing less than 200 yards per game. So I don't think Kansas is going to have a lot of success here. And then Kansas is giving up 547 yards per game. They haven't been terrible on offense. They're putting up 377, but they are going up against an elite defense that's coming off a tough game last week. So they're probably angry and wanting to run up the score a little bit. Iowa State on offense, 437 yards per game. That is above league average. So I like laying the 34 here. Depending upon how you look at it, our algo line has us somewhere around 45 to 8. Let me see. I put some good information in the article on this one. Let me scroll through it real quick. I want to make sure I give you everything. So we got a lopsided matchup here. Iowa State's at home. Scrolling through here. All right, so we're projecting them in our yardage model to be somewhere between 492 and 540 yards. So you can see total yards here for Iowa State, 492 if you just take an easy average out. If you do our skewed line, that is the line that I came up with, we're giving them about 540. So if we figure 500 yards with a YPP around 11, which is here, I mean, that's 45 points. So could this game be 45 to 10? 45 to 7, 45 to 3 or better? I do think it can, so that's why I'm going to lay the 34. Sometimes I'll also just lay the first half and try to, get it by halftime, and if not, double it up and go after it the second half. Last week, Baylor beat Iowa State 31-29, but if you look at that game a little further, Iowa State led them in first downs 27 to 15, rush yards 216 to 121, and pass yards 263 to 164. The overall yardage, Iowa State led that 479 to 285. So if they can put up 479 yards against Baylor, who has a point-wise power ranking of 49, what do you think they're going to do against Kansas that has a point-wise power ranking of only 22? I'm definitely going to lay the 34 here, and that is my best bet number 3. Now, my absolute favorite play of the day is Army over Ball State. Now, I think this line is severely off. This is my favorite play of the weekend. If you are going to bet one game, Army's the one I would bet. I bet it at 7.5 when it came out. It was still 7.5 this morning. And you can see across the board. So PFF has it about 18.5. Our algo line says they should be favored by about 18. Cheat line, which is calculated differently, also has 18. And so we got them winning this game 30 to 12. So low scoring game, but Army putting up a lot of points. Sorry, my throat's getting a little dry. Army's got the number 2 rushing offense in the land, putting up 344.5 rushing yards a game. To give you an example, that's more yards than what Ball State's putting up together. They're only averaging 100 rushing yards and 186 passing yards for 289 total. So I'm getting a substantial amount of more yards just running the ball, which is their primary offensive source, and only 289 from Ball State. I will take that all day. Defensively, Army's only allowing 277. Ball State's giving up 438. So there's a big difference there. When we come down here, we look at the plus minus. Army is 4-0, averaging 39 a game, 39 to 19, so they're plus 20. And then Ball State's the opposite, 12 to 37, they're minus 24.7. So there's a 50-point difference just right there. Looking at the basic YPP numbers, again, keep in mind, league average is 15.5. Army's running at 10.6, which is phenomenal. And we got them projected to jump down to about 8.5, which is even better against this defense. And then Ball State is struggling at 23.4. Anything over 20 is like mightily struggling. And you can see basically all our lines here. Even the yardage model puts this game at 40 to 14 or 40 to 15, however you want to look at it. But it got them winning by 24.5. So laying 7 is the no-brainer for me. I would be shocked if Ball State was able to stay in this game. This is my favorite bet of the weekend. And let me see, I think we've looked. So the best bets are going to be Army minus 7.5, Rutgers plus 15.5. Let me just show them to you. So our best bets for the weekend are going to be Army minus 7.5. We got Rutgers plus 15.5, Boston College plus 16, Iowa State minus 34, and then these are the tier 2 bets. I want to take a look at a couple of these games. I wrote them up in the article. It's on the website at CheatSheetPros.com if you want to go look at it. Arkansas minus Georgia. I really like that one. Arkansas looks really good. If this line was like somewhere between 9 and 13, I probably wouldn't touch it, but 18 is a lot of points for Arkansas. I like them hanging in that game. And let's pick one here to look at. Let me look at this one, USC and Colorado, and then we'll look at this Marshall, Middleton, Tennessee. I want to look at those two. So USC, Colorado, let's take a look at that game. And I'm sorry, I don't know which team is the home team, so I'm not going to worry about a couple points for the home field advantage because I think we're significantly different here. So USC's laying 7 against Colorado. One of the things I noticed, the offensive side of the ball, 191 total yards per game for Colorado is very poor. Their YPP is 28.6. They can't, you physically cannot stay at 28.6. You just cannot be that bad. Even UConn and Mass would probably score more than that. So we expect that to come down, but even if you put that down around 22 to 24, it doesn't give them very many points. USC is running at a 13.1 clip, averaging 32.5 points per game, so we really like that. USC is the much better offense here. Defensively, they're both about the same. They're both giving up around 390 yards per game, but we have USC putting up 425 and Colorado only 191, so that's a big difference for me. PFF even has this about minus 14. We've got it on our algo line minus 12. And then the cheat line, which I like putting it in here because they're both Pac-12 teams, are kind of in the same tier somewhat. We've got it 28 to 13. We've got USC minus 15. And I've only got to lay 7, not even 7.5 with the hook. I'm definitely going to do that. And then even on the yardage models, we've got them by more than 100 yards in total offense. And then if you skew in the defense, our gap yards, we have USC possibly 200 yards more than Colorado with a better YPP. Look at Colorado. They're 1-3. Their plus minus is minus 18.3. They average 7 points a game and they're allowing 25. And I've only got to lay 7 with USC. I know it's a divisional game, but I'm going to lay it and take my chances there. That's one of the other games that I liked. And then let me look at a total for you. Marshall, Middle Tennessee. So over here in the article, you can see one of our games we had was the Marshall, Middle Tennessee over 65. This actually jumped out at me last week when I was running this cheat line in the background, and I noticed something. So up here, you can see this total defense red flag. When you have two defenses giving up almost 1,000 yards, those totals go astronomical. Last week it was 42-39 or... they scored just a massive amount of points. And it really wasn't a lot of the offenses. It was this defensive deal. So I put a little flag that pops up. If these two add up over, I forget what the number is, it's usually like 950. It's going to pop up a red flag to be careful or basically alert me to look at the total. What I love about the over in this game is, one, both defenses suck. They're giving up 508 and 469 yards per game. And then what scores quicker, running the ball or passing the ball? It's passing the ball. When you pass the ball, if it's incomplete, the clock stops. If it's a first down in college, the clock stops. And you get bigger chunks of yards on completion, so they move the ball down faster. Marshall's playing at a 12.9 clip. Middle Tennessee, they're about league average, 15.9. So we've got two good offenses. And what I love about it is look at this pass yards per game, 8th and 27th. 355, 284. So both of these teams can sling the ball, quick scores, poor defenses. There could be a butt ton of scoring in this game. Our model has this up to 68.5. Now the total is 65. We got it at 68.5. So it is a high total, but I'm going with it. Why not? We got it 38-31, Marshall winning. But either way, if this game comes back and forth, we could get there a lot quicker. Also, a lot of offensive yards. It's plus 294 for the offensive side versus the defensive side of the ball. That equals a lot of scoring. Our algo line and our yardage model puts it at 66 and then 62. So we're right around that 65 number, but I'm leaning over here. That's one that I do like. Now, let me give you a game that was not on the article that I was looking at. And so I had Duke... was it North Carolina? Duke, North Carolina. So this is one I was debating an over, but the over-under is 72 here. Look at their points per game, 37 and 37.5. That is insane, and they're giving up a bunch of yards. 858 for the total defensive yards allowed. Duke's putting up almost 600 offensive yards per game. I mean, look at the offenses. Green, 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 green. These teams can score. So I'm thinking about putting a Duke UNC over in there. That's one that really jumped out at me. I mean, our skewed cheat line yardage puts it at 976. That's a lot of offensive yards. I mean, 976, and then you've got some of these offenses are more efficient than league average. That's putting up a lot of points. So that's one that I was considering. Another one is Minnesota and Purdue under, and it's under 47. Now, what jumped out at me is our cheat line over here. We got it 19-17 with 36, and the over-under opened, I believe, at 49 and jumped down to 47, and we've got it even lower than that. Defensive yards, only 573. So if you take the average yard per point into what the total yards they're allowing, that's only 39.6 points. And then both of these models, we got it at 43.9, 43.3, 36. So under 47. I don't know if I'll bet it, but it's one I'm going to earmark and then watch this week to kind of see what it does, if it stays close, if it stays under that total. Both of these defenses are pretty solid, so I think that could be in the works. Oh, my throat's getting really dry. Sorry. Arkansas and Georgia. So Arkansas and Georgia is an interesting one. Now, I don't consider Georgia up here at this number. I think it's farly skewed, but we've got this at 22-18, so I think this could be an under. And then we've got Georgia favored by 4. Yardage model, we got them favored by 8. I think those are reasonable lines. So I'm definitely taking the 18 points here to see if Arkansas can hang in probably what's the biggest game they will ever play. So that's one that I really liked. And, boy, I'm going to lose my voice here in a minute. And let me find one more game. I earmarked so many of these things. All right, let's go ahead and look at Wake Forest and Louisville. This is another game that was in the best bets. So on here, Wake Forest is laying 7. You can see our algo line only has it at -5. So I think Wake Forest might actually be the home team. So either way, that's going to flip it around if it does to about 7. But over here on our cheat line, we've got it -9. We got to win in 35-26. What jumps out at me first is the plus minus. Wake Forest is plus 24.3. Louisville is -1.4. Both teams are doing good on offense, but Wake Forest is only allowing 13.7 points per game on defense, and then Louisville is giving up 33.7. When you go over here and look at the defensive yards, Louisville's giving up 480 yards a game. So Wake Forest is going to score. They are going to be able to put up points at will. So only laying 7, I like that. Both teams putting up over 400 yards on offense. I think it could be a close shootout game, but even in our yardage model, we've got Wake Forest getting as high as 15.5. In our cheat line, we got them at -9. So I only got to lay 7. That's another game that I like. So anyways, this video is getting a little long. So these are my best bets for college week 5. So I'll come out with the NFL DFS and NFL best bets article likely on Thursday. So check out the website, CheatSheetPros.com, and good luck.